In her words, it's a sub-series from Something Private, featuring lesser-known stories from women who have survived pains unlike what most of us go through and triumphed. Women who succeed despite and against all odds. This is their story.
Hi, I am a Muslim female who was circumcised as a child, and I now have differing opinions about it since when I first discovered that I was actually circumcised. Okay, so the reason why I use the term circumcised is because it's more of a neutral word as opposed to the usual like FGM, female genital mutilation, because I guess even like from a personal standpoint it's hard to say, hi, I am a Muslim female and I was mutilated at my genitals. You know, see, it's so weird to say. Yeah. Or maybe in like Malay terms you'll say like, oh, I kena sunat. Something like that. That's not even correct. Don't even say that. Because you understand that term sunat, right? It's like a normal term. It's very normal. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how to explain how normal it is because it's so normal. Yeah, so it's even more neutral than saying the word like circumcised. It's as normal as people saying like, hey, you sunat already? A lot of people know that, you know, guys go through sunat and everything. And a lot of people, whether they are Malay or non-Malay, know that guys have to go through this circumcision process. But not a lot of girls know about sunat perempuan, which is like female circumcision. Honestly, my experience with this term, I've never really had any opposition to it because growing up, you know, you watch those Malay like P. Ramlee shows or whatever, and then there's this scene where, you know, all the boys are wearing the like kain, which is the like sarong thing, and they're all like preparing to go into the sunat. So it is like something that is normal. So I didn't think that there was any issue with it until I guess I started going to school like uni, and then like I realized that, oh, female circumcision is not like, people don't know that they were like circumcised. So to me the term sunat was like, it didn't have any negative connotations until I reached like uni and realized that it has certain negative impacts on people. Most people call it female genital mutilation or FGC, female genital cutting. From what I understand, there are different extents to which people undergo FGM. So the extent of the cutting or how much that is removed is different in different cultural contexts lah. From what I understand, which is very limited also, because it's only based on my own experience, because not a lot of like girls my age talk about it, is that in Singapore only the cut is a very small incision, and that's like also what my parents told me also lah.
Okay, so hang on a minute. I really wanted to use this space as a platform for minority groups, less privileged, less empowered, to have a space among the majority, to have their voices and their issues be heard, and therefore I didn't really want to interject with my own opinions, but I think this is an episode that is on a very contentious topic, and I'm sorry, but I have to interrupt with some facts just to set the record straight. I did my reading online, and then I wrote in to several Muslim female gynecologists based in Singapore because I wanted to understand what exactly is the type of female circumcision that is carried out here today. Eventually, one reached back to me and gladly answered all my queries. Yay! She has declined to be named because this is a really sensitive topic back home, but if you did a quick Google search, I'm sure you could find her. Anyway, let's call her Dr. A. When Dr. A rang, she expressed concern immediately over the fact that I was going to do this episode because she felt that the word mutilation or the act that was carried out back home was very, very different from what was happening, say, in Africa. There's this particular British charity that focuses on research on female genital mutilation, and it works closely with African underprivileged women. According to their findings, there are 4 types of mutilation: type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. Type 1 and type 4 are the most common in Southeast Asia, where they either prick, scrape, or partially remove the clitoris. But in Africa, they sometimes do a combination of many things, including scraping and then sewing up the vagina. Dr. A disagrees. She says that she's unsure of how accurate and updated this information is with relation to Southeast Asian mutilation. As a gynecologist in practice for many, many years now, she vouches for the fact that female circumcision that exists in Singapore today is not practiced in a physical way, and it's largely a symbolic practice to enable a rite of passage. Really vague, really vague. So I pushed her to tell me what exactly she meant specifically. Does it mean that, they don't cut off the clitoris like what you said? Is it just a simple prick? She explained to me that Muslims can only either visit their GP or gynecologist to carry out this practice. What this means is that the sole responsibility for carrying out the circumcision fell on the shoulders of these doctors. They could not come out to publicly condemn this action because there was still a demand for this to be carried out. And if they refused to do it, who knows what illegal or unhygienic practice might result, causing more harm to young baby girls, right? So, they agreed among themselves in the medical community that it'll not be physically carried out. As far as Dr. A is concerned, it's 99.9% symbolic. Parents bring their child to a clinic and they go through a prayer, followed by the procedure, where the doctor will place a prick or a knife on the clitoris, nothing more. No slicing. But of course, our profile today is somebody who is in her mid-20s, and it's difficult to confirm what procedure she had gone through as a child.
Yep, so it's done right when you're a baby. Okay, I'm not sure about the specifics, but you don't even, I don't even remember when I was circumcised. And according to my mom, when she was telling this story, she was like, because, okay, as a baby, I didn't cry much. So apparently, in this procedure, I didn't even cry. So, okay, but that's a weird baby. But anyway, my mom the way she tells the story is, haha, it's so funny, as a baby you should cry, but you didn't cry, but your mom, she cried. But even though she cried because, I think she just doesn't want her baby to go through pain, but at the same time, she still believes that the baby still needs to go through the sunat, which I really don't understand now. So my views may be a bit conflicting throughout this whole thing because I had a different view before and after uni and recent things that happened lah. So before this, I didn't want to have an opinion on it. I just okay, this thing happens, and I think that a lot of people blast it out of proportion sometimes. But then I think after I took because I study sociology, so after I took some modules in health and then learned more about it and other people's experiences, then I kind of changed my stance towards it, and also through my own experiences lah. Yeah. Firstly, they don't remember it happening, right? So they don't physically feel the pain. Yeah. So it's only people who, are maybe more sensitive, more woke, or aware of social cultural issues. But apart from that, you are a certain type of person to want to be affected by this. Yeah. Normally, I think, especially girls, maybe the quieter ones may not, want to even be vocal about it. And yeah, it may or may not affect them now. Okay, so when I asked my mom, why is this being done? Even though she cries when this happens to me, why does she still want to go through with it? Because she said that it is compulsory and it's needed because it helps to curb your sexual desires and wants, which clearly it honestly did not on me. But yeah, as in the fact that they're trying to control it, I really am very opposed to that lah. Yeah. When my mom told me, I already knew from super young. I just only had an issue with it in uni. Okay, so my best friend is Chinese, okay, and we're super close and all that. And we always talk about these kind of issues. So she always asked me, how come only in uni I had an issue about this? Because even she, as a Chinese girl, when she knew that I was we knew each other since secondary school, she was like, what? That happened to you? And I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Yeah, so I told her that, and then she was like, huh, what? And then she kept asking more about it. Then because at that point of time, I wasn't, exposed to a lot of things, and I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. And then I guess sometimes, when in Asian or maybe Muslim cultures, you see other people writing about, your culture or whatever, and they kind of write it from their viewpoint that it's not a really balanced perspective. So at that point in time in secondary school, I was coming from the space where I thought it was a normal thing and don't want it to be blown out of proportion just because something is different in a different culture. Yeah. In uni, then when I studied sociology and about gender equality, female rights, all that kind of stuff, and I guess maybe my partner changed also. So before that, I dated 2 Malay guys. Yeah. So then in uni, I had a Chinese boyfriend. Okay, we were together very long. We were gonna get married, and then we broke up 3 months ago. I guess one thing that was an issue in our relationship, among a lot of other things, was that he didn't like to have sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means that his sex drive was lower than yours?
Yeah,
or?
his sex drive was significantly lower than mine. So like, I was always wondering, like, what, firstly, is it me? And then secondly, like what's going on lah? Yeah. So anyway, fight, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we broke up. And then after we broke up, he was such a dick. Like, he suddenly said, because we fought a lot about the sex thing, because I would, as a girl, always be like, firstly, I was circumcised, right? I'm supposed to have lower sex drive, but what's going on, And then, yeah, so that was one thing. And he always never wanted to talk about it. He always, like, I'll ask him, like, some lame question, like, what kind of porn do you watch? And if you're gonna marry this person, shouldn't they tell you, answer you this kind of nonsense things? And he was like, why? I don't want to tell you lah. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then he just never talked about it and all that. So after we broke up, then I guess, he doesn't care about hurting my feelings. So he said that, like, he didn't enjoy sex with me, whatever. And then I was like, are you serious? And then he said that, he's not used to, like, the circumcised, like, vagina lah. Then I was like, are you fucking serious? Why didn't you say, like, all this from the start lah? And then, like, okay, so this is gonna be a bit, like, sexual, okay. So, like, I like giving blowjobs. And he doesn't like it. Yeah.
He doesn't like receiving blowjobs?
He doesn't like receiving blowjobs. So like...
That's strange.
Yeah, that's strange. That's very, very strange. And, like, he wouldn't want to have sex if I would do everything also. Yeah, so which was always very strange. So anyway, I think we both arrived at us just being very sexually incompatible. After that, I saw a lot of people, like a lot of, let's just say angmo guys. Yeah, like a lot. Because it's just for fun and I don't want anything serious, right? And then because it's not serious, I can ask them, right, like, about my performance or other nonsense. And they're clearly quite happy lah. Yeah, so that's why I was like, okay, this is not me lah. Yeah, and then... for some of them that I still talk to and I'm close to, but we're just friends, I was just asking lah, like, is there a difference, like, because I'm circumcised or whatever, and they were like, the hell, there's no difference at all. Yeah, so I'm just like, yeah, exactly. So I don't understand what, like, my ex was talking about. So I don't know where it came from, whether, he really thinks that it's very different, or he was just saying it out of bitterness, whatever. Yeah, that's something that I'm still, like, figuring out how to navigate. Yeah. And I'm just taking a break when I really had too much.
No, good on you. Sex. We're taking a short break. Something Private is a podcast produced under media publisher Our Grandfather's Story. Watch our new episodes every alternate Tuesdays on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcast every alternate Thursdays. New episodes will be published first on YouTube and we'll be publishing once every 2 weeks this season. We've also just launched our new website, so pay us a visit at somethingprivate.fm if you'd like to share your story with us or work with us. Otherwise, you can send us a message on Instagram at somethingprivatepod or email us at nicole@somethingprivate.fm. We're immensely grateful for all the support you guys have given us, and we really couldn't have come this far without you. If you'd like to keep supporting our work, become our Patreon at patreon.com/somethingprivatepod. That's patreon.com/somethingprivatepod. Now back to the episode.
I guess most girls would only realize when they're at that age, because that's when you start thinking about, like, what... Okay, I don't know whether that's the age where they think about whether they will have a kid or not lah, and then what will happen to them. But that's when they start thinking about, like, social issues and get exposed to it. I guess the reason why I knew, and it depends, like, from family to family, because my mom just talks about it, like, as a kid. Oh, when you were a kid, this happened. It was like a story to tell about when I was a baby, and I grew up until before I went to uni, knowing that was already done to me. Yeah, so I'm sure that there are other families that are also like that. Yeah, and then they might be okay with it until a certain time, when it comes to the point that other people then say, like, was that really okay? Because before that you would just think that, oh, actually it's okay, it's normal. Yeah, until other people actually point out and, like,
make you question.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how to feel about that.
I was just gonna ask.
I honestly don't know, because I always thought about this with my best friend because she saw both sides, right? She always like, what's wrong with you? Last time you didn't care. Or then now it's like, oh, you don't want it to like happen to you. Or I don't want it to happen to my kid. But yeah, I mean, I wonder if like, I mean, if everyone does the same thing in a society, then you wouldn't question it, right? It's just that because different culture does different things. I guess this is viewed negatively because it is associated with a certain kind of like violence in a way, and a certain kind of like physical harm done to someone, right? The reason why some people can see it not as a threat is because there's no effect, right, on me, even to curb the desires or whatever. So yeah, I think that is also why it's difficult to stop it. But I think that in general it should be stopped. I'm not gonna be like super like loud and vocal about it. Maybe the reason why is because I don't want to, not say I don't want to harm the social fabric of like, you know, the Muslims, but maybe it's also coming from there, so maybe I don't want to. You know, sometimes you just get so sick of the way people say like, oh, you know, Muslims are terrorists, whatever nonsense, right? It's all the same stereotypes, right? So you don't want to like lump another one on them. Yeah. So I don't know, I think that one thing I learned in soci is if, for example, a minority group or disadvantaged group like gets too angry sometimes, right? Like, it's very difficult for other people to listen to them. Yeah. So it needs to come from like an objective viewpoint, from a learned voice as well, to communicate to the other side, like, this is why this has been done over the years. It's not that it cannot be helped, but these are the reasons why people are not being so vocal about it. Yeah, I mean, since there's no health benefits and people rather not do it, and there are like lesser people doing it, then yeah, why not eradicate it, abolish it? Yeah, there's no practical benefit of it, and then you have to pay for it. It's so dumb to say that is a deterrent to me. But why would you waste your time going to the doctor and then doing this to your kid, and then like putting yourself through the emotional pain and then your kid through the physical pain, if essentially there's no benefits? Yeah,
It's a cultural.
yeah, I think it's
mindset
really a
thing.
cultural thing. And then there's always that same saying, right? Because it was done by your grandmother and all that stuff. The MUIS, the sort of like regulatory authority, right? Said that they don't encourage it in any way lah. Yeah, but then at the same time, I think not many people would know. And okay, maybe other people may have a different viewpoint, but you know, this stat board usually has like more men. You know, this voice is a man's voice saying this lah, right? And then even though this female circumcision thing, you know, both parents, okay, not maybe not all the time, both parents know that it happens to the female child, but usually it comes from a place where the mom or grandma or whatever wants it to be done to the child. So it's really a female like saying that they want it to be done to another female. Yeah, because usually like the men would not want to have a say in this lah, based on what I know. Like for them, okay, the boy definitely will get circumcised, right? But for the female, I don't think like it's something that like they have strong opinions about. It's more about the females, and then maybe that strong opinion is also coming from, oh, it was done to them, that's why they want it to be done to their kids, and not in a like, you know, vengeful kind of way, more of like, this is how it's supposed to be done kind of way.
Like tradition.
Yeah, tradition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I spent like 1 year in New York. I worked in 2 different startups. One was like a mobile advertising startup, and then second was ed tech. Like it was just me and my boss, that kind. Yeah. So I think New York taught me a lot. Like it's a really life changing experience lah. Okay, honestly, before that I was not. I was. As in, I have a lot of gay friends, but I never understood, you know, like, not why you would be gay, but I just never, like, I was like, okay, you know, I wouldn't do it, yeah. But then, like, when I was in New York, like, I saw, like, ads for, like, you know, people to protect themselves properly, like, for those that are having gay sex and everything, and they show, like, you know, 2 guys, like, in a subway ad. And, like, the more you see this every day when you go to work, it's so, you become normalized to it. So, a lot of my opinions like changed through that. So I went for a lot of events. I did a lot of like startup hackathons, cyber nonsense, and then a lot of social impact events, and especially like women led events. And then there were those like some minorities, and they'll be very vocal, and they were very angry, and then when you're very angry, like, it's very difficult to like listen. And then there's also the period where Trump got voted in, by the way. Yeah. And then also I went for, Doctors Without Borders, and like, yeah, that, and like the UN kind of like talks. So they would have like panel discussions where in like really big theaters. And then one thing that stuck with me from what this one particular panel discussion was, because, Americans are very vocal. And then there was this one person in the audience who was saying that, we need to get on the streets and, have our posters and, be vocal about this activism stuff. And then the guy in the panel, who is like some like director or something, right, was saying like, yeah, you can do that, but I mean, in terms of the impact that it has, right, it's not as much as, for example, when you're doing stuff in like policy and research and stuff. So that's something that stuck with me a lot. And then when I got back from New York, I was doing a activism module on like social movements and activism, which I also learned quite a bit from that. And I think there are two sides to it lah. I think there is some like benefits, some impact that can be derived from activism, like on the street, like the whole like Occupy Wall Street and stuff, and then
the visibility of it lah.
Yeah, and all these like green movements, and then there's also the benefits from the policy side lah. Yeah, and then there are disadvantages to both too. So yeah, I think that Muslim girls definitely should talk more about it and also be open. Okay, not say open sexually, but like open about, whatever they do sexually, whether it is with someone or with themselves or whatever, because I'm sure that, maybe sometimes if, for example, they masturbate or whatever, they think that it's a sin or something, and then, I'm sure that I'm not the only girl who wonders, is it because I was circumcised, then I cannot feel, like, whatever, like maximum pleasure. Yeah, so I'm sure that's a question that's on most girls' minds, and I think that to just talk about it is better, and also to explore lah. I think moving forward, as more people start talking about it and realize that honestly there are no benefits to it, I think that it is moving in the direction where less and less people will do it lah. Yeah.
This has been an episode on female circumcision in Singapore. It's really interesting to me because if you did a quick search, there's not a lot that has been covered on it in a Southeast Asian context, and some articles even suggest that people are still comfortable with it back home. I think the larger issue at hand when it comes to this topic of circumcision is really what it represents. The removal of sexual desires, chastity, virginity, such social constructs that inhibit women and girls from understanding their bodies better is really very dangerous, and even like shaming them into not wanting to know about what's going on inside can be very dangerous. And honestly, it still largely exists within conservative Southeast Asia, no matter the religion or race. I think this is something that has to be addressed. So if you guys tuning in have learned something a bit from this episode, I hope that you bring this educational piece of information and pass it on to siblings, younger siblings, your nieces, your nephews, if your friends have children, if you have children, onto the next generation, so that we can be a more educated and informed generation and society.